On September 11, 2001, almost 3,000 people were killed in a series of coordinated terrorist attacks at the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon near Washington, D.C. Over 200 miles away, in an open field in the Allegheny Mountains of southern Pennsylvania, another tragedy took place, which prevented an even greater tragedy from occurring. This is the final resting place of the 40 victims of United Flight 93, who fought back against the hijackers and thwarted further death and destruction. Their resting place is part of the greater Flight 93 National Memorial in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, near the boroughs of Storystown and Shanksville. The 2,000-acre memorial is divided into 3 parts. From the parking lot, a pathway of black granite pavers includes a timeline of the day's events and was constructed to follow the final flight path of Flight 93, leading to a raised overlook of the actual crash site. Much of the property is visible from this overlook. The visitor center is located just off the pathway, situated behind the tall memorial walls. The visitor center exhibits tell the story of the events of 9/11. Interactive exhibits allow visitors to experience the events of the day through news coverage as well as through recorded voice messages left by some of the Flight 93 passengers. The center also contains a massive viewing window from which you can view the crash site and Memorial Plaza in all weather conditions. After Flight 93 was hijacked, several passengers called their loved ones, who relayed information about what had happened at the World Trade Center and Pentagon. This inspired several passengers to take action and to fight back against the hijackers. Evidence suggests that Flight 93 was headed for the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. The intercession of the passengers likely prevented a much more catastrophic tragedy and hundreds more deaths. Due to heavy traffic at Newark Airport on the morning of 9/11, Flight 93 lifted off nearly 25 minutes later than its scheduled departure time. Had it departed on time, the passengers may not have been alerted to the day's attacks and may not have fought back. Without passenger intervention, the plane would have reached its target in Washington at around 10 a.m., roughly 20 minutes after the attack on the Pentagon and nearly simultaneous to the collapse of the World Trade Center South Tower. Flight 93 crashed just after 10 a.m. Hitting the ground at an estimated 563 miles per hour with 7,000 gallons of jet fuel resulted in a massive fireball and complete disintegration of the plane. This is the only known photograph of the crash's immediate aftermath. Although several larger pieces of the plane were recovered, most everything else was consumed by the fireball. Most of what was recovered was only tiny fragments. From the visitor center, you can walk a 3/4 mile trail or drive a 1 1/4 mile road to the Memorial Plaza. The plaza takes visitors near the site of the crash. The sloping black walls of the pathway mark the official edge of the 40-acre debris field. The walkway leads to the Wall of Names, 40 marble panels, each one engraved with the name of a deceased passenger or crew member. Friends and family members of the victims continue to come to the memorial to pay their respects. The panels are aligned with the final moments of the flight path, leading to the ceremonial gate, which separates the Wall of Names from the crash site. The approximate point of the plane's impact is marked by a 17-ton sandstone boulder. Although all of the victims were identified, only fragments of their remains were recovered, and they remain here, buried at the crash site. After the investigation concluded, the massive impact crater was filled in. The crash site itself is accessible only to the families of victims. What might not be obvious to many when visiting the memorial is the amount of natural landscaping. 40 groves of maple and oak trees line the roadway to the Memorial Plaza, designed as a living memorial to the victims. The final portion of the memorial, still under construction, is the Tower of Voices. Located just off the property's only entrance and exit, it is the first thing you see upon entering the grounds. Standing 93 feet tall, the tower is designed as a giant wind chime. At the time of our visit, there were 8 chimes installed. The remaining 32 are expected to be installed on an ongoing basis once testing of the chimes is completed. If completed as planned, the tower will possess 40 chimes, one for each victim. A simple memorial, yet an enveloping experience. We spent well over an hour at the Flight 93 Memorial. The Flight 93 National Memorial is a quiet, somber place to reflect on a tragedy that occurred on a day that seems all too recent, yet in reality, happened nearly 2 decades ago. A day whose impact is felt every day, in nearly every aspect of our modern society.